Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. We are back on Wednesday night. It is December the 21st of 2022. I am Nick, joined, of course, by Quinn to talk about all your favorite soccer manga that are currently running. Are there any soccer manga that are currently running beyond this one? I don't know.
Captain Tsubasa's got to be in publication still somewhere, right? Like some iteration of it. New Captain Tsubasa, yeah.
Or it's like currently airing in some country in a season that's never gotten aired there before. You never know how it goes with certain places.
Yeah,
I discovered
maybe there's some alternate universe where Shudan is still going, and everyone's like, "Yeah, this series is great."
Like just finding new ways to stretch out the 16 chapters that it got published.
No, well, in this universe, it's the new One Piece. It's continued for decades. Which is astonishing because I think it was 4 years ago, but it preceded that. Lightning struck. Actually, it was a time paradox ghostwriter moment. Someone stole that manga from the past to write it 20 years before everything else, and it's just been wild since then.
Yeah, it was called Blue Lock. That's what happened to Shudan. Yeah. But the timing, I think, actually matches.
This is a series where me supposing one of the children should die to add stakes would actually be relatively fitting, or not out of the norm.
Not entirely out of left field, or whatever the equivalent of left field is on a soccer pitch. I don't know, because I don't know enough about soccer terminology.
Bottom yoink or some sort of stupid thing like that, right?
And because I didn't know shit about soccer going into this manga, I liked it. So I cannot tell you how well this manga that we're talking about today, Blue Lock, portrays the world of soccer beyond a hyper competitiveness that certain athletes who partake in it experience. But because it very, very straightforwardly kind of deliberately sets up its own set of rules that go against a lot of conventional soccer wisdom. Because of that, it kind of allows itself to be much more shonen manga-y than a more accurate in big quotes portrayal of soccer probably would be. Sorry, I'm saying soccer a lot. I know that we do have an audience outside of the one country that refers to the sport as soccer.
It's like
football.
Is it the same thing with Imperial and Metric, where there's two other small countries that are also no, it is also soccer here as well. Thank you very much. You're not entirely on this island alone.
All right. Yeah, I know you got our back, Greenland.
I wish it was as big as Greenland. It's got to be something like the Sandwich Isles also calls it. Which countries call it soccer? Let's see.
What is this? We're doing research.
It says Australia, South Africa, and some Asian countries generally call it soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll take that. Yeah. Should we talk about the weird ass plot of this sports manga?
Let's delve nothing into the plot and simply go off of vibes.
So this is a manga that started publishing just over 4 years ago in the summer of 2018.
What a good time.
Just off of the 2018 FIFA World Cup. And the entire premise is Japan can't win a World Cup if its approach to soccer remains the way that it does. We need to breed selfish ultra-scoring players using a sci-fi facility that separates people from their families and school lives so that they are drilled into becoming ultra scorers by killing each other symbolically. But it's a sports manga combined with like a survival sci-fi sort of premise along the lines of Alice in Borderland or Squid Game.
Okay.
In terms of how it initially sets out, because
they don't kill the children. To be very clear with that,
they kill their dreams, Quinn. It's the same thing.
No children die in this manga. I want to.
Their lives in soccer end, which is the same as being executed. They will never be allowed to play for the Japanese national soccer team. And isn't that just like murdering them?
Pretty much, until they reveal later on the Japan national team's not even that good. So you might as well play outside the country anyway.
Pretty much. So, for whatever reason, there is this very passionate member of the National Soccer Association in Japan who convinces the other board members, no, we need to have this one crazy coach with this absurd method for developing players to take over, and we need to fund this massive facility where 300 kids are brought in and they fiercely compete against each other in order to force each other to evolve and grow beyond how they would normally, so that we get one player, the best striker that the Japanese soccer world has ever seen. They are spending easily millions of dollars in order to do this. Probably tens of millions of dollars.
I would assume it would be in the billions based off the facility itself alone, because it's pretty extravagant.
Which has holograms.
I mean, I wasn't even gonna get to that part, but it does have like robot rooms and stuff like that. Like it's a lot has been put into this place.
Now, you may be hearing me talk about this and saying, "Oh, so it's very silly." Yes, but since when has a sports manga being silly ever made it worse? Well, in some cases it does, but that's not a qualifier or anything. So I had a lot of fun reading this manga, because it does all of the over-the-top shonen sports things where people get super passionate about this one sport and they make very, very determined expressions while pushing their bodies beyond what should be human limits, or at the very least, the limits of what a 14-year-old's bones should be able to hold up under. And there are a lot of soccer techniques that are on display where a lot of different people have very specialized abilities. There is our main character utilizes observation techniques, so he has to discover how does this allow him to become a top goal scorer when he can't figure it out initially, and it turns out he's really good at doing one hits or one touches. I can't remember what they're called,
direct
but
shots. Basically no time to catch the ball, anything like that. Just kick it straight out of the air for shots.
There are some players that are extremely skilled at dribbling. There are some that are extremely skilled at jumping and deploying headers. Some of them just have really powerful long distance shots. And so all these players have very easy to understand and grasp gimmick abilities, and each of them are trying to become the very best. By the language that is used is very direct and over the top. They need to devour each other in order to be the best soccer player in the world, because as each person is playing against all these top competitors, they're getting stronger, and because they're getting stronger, the people they're playing against are also getting stronger, and it's like a race to see if you can keep on being strong enough to stay within the competition without getting eliminated by just outpacing everyone else around you, and ascending to heights that you wouldn't be able to reach if you were completely on your own without all of this training and competition that's going on. Mash all the rocks against each other. Hopefully you get some diamonds, essentially.
Yeah, just like Totsuki Institute, Nick. Everyone's favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out great. You can't
they got a couple diamonds, Yeah, a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, the entire sort of conceit of this series, and this is the manga's words, not me, is Japan is great at creating a really good midfield and backfield because all their players are very considerate and team players and everything like that. So they have great defense and great passing, but no one has the ego to become a world-class striker out of Japan, and that's the one thing that's going to prevent them from ever being able to win a World Cup. See Leo Kamamesi. I think that's his name. I don't even know. But he did great, I hear. So
Close
good
enough.
for him.
Close enough.
So there's this idea like Japan will never do it, so that's what this program is about. And that's how all these kids are brought into this program, is the coach you're referring to, his name is literally Ego, is like, I will bring you to the highest field, but you have to want this. He invites 300 people to this thing, and he's like, hey, you're going to be in this training program. It's going to take months. It's going to be pretty dangerous, and like there's a lot of challenge to it. But all 300 of these kids, who are all strikers, are lured into this program because they're like, fuck yeah, I want to be the best striker. And then the series kind of has to forget about that point because, unfortunately, that's not how soccer actually works. And, like, 4 motherfuckers on each team are like, yeah, I'll play goalie and defense. And it's just, there's a lot of, like, small conceits that this series has to constantly work around its own premise to be like, look, it's fine. But then later on, they also introduced that this facility just has hologram goalies that they could have just always been using.
Could have just used those at the beginning. Could have very easily.
But some dumb motherfucker on each team is just like, yeah, I know I was brought here under the express presence of I want to be the best striker in the world. But fuck it, I'll be goalie for a little bit, and if we lose, I guess we're just kicked out of this program forever.
Pretty much. Oh, look, I know that my position is striker, and we're playing against all the best strikers our age in the country. And I've only ever played, goalie when I'm playing with, like, my little brother. But I'm sure we'll be fine.
How hard could it be? Which, as I said, it's a conceit they work through, but it also ends up being one of the better things because it's a series that is entirely about strikers. You get exciting soccer matches all the time because every match is like 4-5, which is not soccer. And there's no like, what a graceful 1-0 score with a lot of diligent defensive passing to keep the game going. It's all just like, it was 17-19, eat shit, nerds!
Right. I love that it gives itself an excuse to avoid what every person who doesn't like soccer would cite as the reason for not enjoying the matches in this. It's like, oh, okay, so they played to a 0-0 draw. And you're saying it was a good game? Instead, no, there's scoring like happening like every 2 minutes or something something absurd like that. The stretch where there's the I forget what it's called, the second selection exam, I think it is, where they start off with like teams of 3-on-3 plus a holographic goalie, and then you either go up to 4-on-4 or down to 2-on-2, all that stuff, and you play until one team reaches 5, is some of the most exciting goddamn shit I have seen in a sports manga. Because it's always just like, for a fact, like, this is going to be either over in an instant or it's going to be nail-bitingly close every single time. There's none of this room for, there will eventually be a timeout. It's like, no, one team has to score 5 goals on the other team in order to win. It is designed for there to be a lot of scoring. And it helps, the chapters be paced incredibly well, because that essentially means, each chapter, maybe every 2 chapters, is all about how one of the teams puts all the pieces together and scores a goal, and it feels like a big, exciting thing has happened before you move on to the next leg of the match. And of course, because you have to score that many goals, that means the matches between 2 different teams last a relatively significant period of time without overstaying their welcome, and they're paced at a very exciting, fast-paced action.
Yeah, it's probably, as of where I'm at in the manga, it is probably the best stretch of chapters. I don't think any of those matches are the best match I read, but it's probably one of the most exciting. Not entirely because we shed the weight of admittedly pretty boring and like bottom heavy Team Z to like here are like cool characters with like techniques and like maybe some personality if you're lucky. But it also just like it's a relatively unpredictable stretch of time in the manga. Like you really can't call how these matches end because it goes on longer than you think, and because there's like opportunities to get back into it afterwards. Like, you know, the characters you follow could lose because that's okay because they still have a chance later on. Maybe their team will be different, and it shakes things up quite a bit.
One thing I will say about this manga, look, this is the thing that you can say about a lot of sports shonen manga. There's like no women in it at all.
I actually think this is an excellent move on the manga's part, because it is a big problem that I think a lot of like male-centric sports manga have, is that like there seems to just be like a difficulty writing and creating space for women. So the series gets around it by just not having any. Just zero.
There's no girls there.
There's one character. I think her name is Ari. She does nothing. She doesn't do a single fucking thing in this manga. She gets to occasionally appear on cover spreads in like a bikini, and you're like, sure, whatever.
Pretty much.
Like I have zero knowledge or context for this character. She just exists in a space.
She's just there so occasionally for Ego to have a normal person to bounce off of while he makes observations. That's kind of it.
There needs to be someone around when Ego gives another one of his shitty fucking speeches to be like, ooh.
Oh my god. Sometimes some of the stuff Ego says is interesting purely because I'm so used to the way that sports manga present, the concepts like, oh, we've got to, find the heart of this team and stuff. And he's just like, no, fuck all that. Be a selfish motherfucker because you have to be the best scorer. And then when you end up on a team, then all of the scoring will be channeled through you and you'll make your team better by being a selfish motherfucker. So forget all that stuff. Forget all the, pass first shit that you've been learning. Some of that is interesting. There is a chapter where, without getting too spoiler heavy, our main character, it's Yuichi Isagi. Isagi suffers a setback where, he comes very close to winning a big important match, but because of the way something comes out, he loses it. And it seems like it all comes down purely to luck. And Ego spends the entirety of a chapter explaining there is no such thing as luck because there are random things that happen, but there are ways that you could put yourself in a position to take advantage of things that a person who does not make their own luck would not. And he goes on about pigeons shitting on the sidewalk and how a lucky person doesn't get shit on because they see the shit on the sidewalk and know to stay away from where the shit on the sidewalk is. And he keeps on going back to this example. And it's like, dude, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. Just say that.
I feel like
it's so much easier.
Well, also, his example of luck isn't even luck. He's just like, it's like unlucky when a bird shits on you. Is it? If there's bird shit on the ground, you get shit on. It's not there's a real dumb motherfucker who has to be like, no, unlucky me, as they're surrounded by bird
No, you see,
shit.
That's the point, is that you're not taking advantage of the information around you. What? By not trying hard?
Yeah,
so you don't happen to see it.
The thing that they're trying to get at is that what we call luck is not actually luck because it is usually a determination of factors and somebody seeing the sort of scene as it comes out around them, and it's not actually luck. It's sort of a careful execution of everything around them, which is fine. That's great. But the entire thing is framed as just it was like a lucky thing instead of Ego just being like, yeah, it wasn't really luck. It's I don't know. He has so many stupid speeches that annoy me, and I hated him. I hated Ego with every stretch of my being. This manga ends with a character
needs to come along and prove him wrong on one point. Just one point he needs to be wrong on.
Yeah. How did you like the characters in this series, Nick?
Some of them I liked. They're very archetypical in terms of a lot of them have like a single character trait because it's a matter of like, okay, this person doesn't talk. Oh, this person's very, very, very nervous. Like the main character Isagi, like he's just kind of like a guy who's trying to find his identity. He's interesting to follow because he's just so determined and he's willing to unmake himself. It's in order to keep on progressing. But a lot of them are pretty straightforward and simple, and a lot of their traits seem to be set up purely to just kind of make big dramatic moments. That said, there are certain moments that I do really, really enjoy in this. There's a guy. I'm so bad at some of the names of this because like they just kind of like I recognize them more by their faces.
Yeah. I think we lost Nick there for a moment. Nope, maybe he's doing a bit. It's like a long face he's making.
Yeah, he does have a long face.
Oh no, I wasn't referring to you. Sorry, you glitched out on my end, and
oh,
it was
sorry,
a static
sorry.
shot. I was just filling space.
Yeah, there's this like tall guy with almost a pompadour that.
Barao.
Yes, Baro. Yeah, I like him because he's just the worst.
I like him for one big reason. He's the only character with whom we get to spend time with him outside the game and see like, oh, he has layers to a personality. And everyone else who just exists to be their one thing all the way through. So I did appreciate that we got to see him, and he's like, no, I'm like a dedicated, studious, like neat freak. And it's like,
he's very judicious, and he's always like scolding people for not keeping their living space in order. And it's like, oh, I kind of just thought this was a huge egomaniac.
Yeah, you're like, okay, that's good. I appreciate that.
I also quite like Bachira, because I just want Isagi to notice how he feels. Okay, because look, I've never been big into the whole thing of like, oh, sports manga teammates that they clearly love each other, shipping kind of stuff. Bachira and Isagi, I just hope that they end up happy together in some form or another. Like, I don't even know how to necessarily be romance. Bachira explicitly says he wants to keep getting better because he finally found someone in Isagi that gets him and that he can play with. And I just want that for him so badly.
Do you prefer that over the other ship of Ren, who was like, I found this person first, and then they blossomed and evolved past this crappy relationship, and now he's just bitter and fucking angry about it?
Reo?
Reo Mikage, I think.
Yeah, I actually do really like that.
I was like, this is as straightforward of like a bad breakup where one side way outscaled the other one and he wasn't expecting it, and he just spends the entire rest of the series just
I'm going to prove him wrong. I'll show him for dumping me. How dare he dump me? I made him.
Yeah. He's just like, no one would have known this person if not for me. You're like, my guy, you don't own a person like this. I'm sorry. He's found people. He's found better relationships since he's left you. But
he's got a much healthier life without you in it. And yeah, when he tries to tell him to his face, like, I don't like you anymore, he's just like, no, he just doesn't get it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's enough characterization in this that at least when the characters clash against each other, not just in terms of the sport, but in terms of personality, it's enough to keep you interested in how things will unfold dramatically. Like going back to Baro, a big thing is that he's an incredibly talented player, but Isagi finds himself in a situation where he's got to play with him as a teammate, and Baro is a giant ball hog. He's got the understanding that, look, this is a huge, strikers competition. We were judged in the first round on our ability to score goals more than our team's winning. So I've got no reason to want to work together with you guys. And he has spent his whole life thinking, like, I'm the best at soccer. No one else is as good as me. So I'm not going to trust you guys with anything. And they go into a match and it's like, well, how are they going to deal with this guy? He's extremely talented, but he will not cooperate with them. And the way it unfolds is amazingly dramatically satisfying because it goes through a couple of twists and turns that I did not see coming. But if they had not played out the way that they had, it would not have been fun because you would have had to ruin you would have had to ruin one of the characters involved in the team if things hadn't turned out the way that they did.
Yeah, he's a character who goes from like being like the scary, omnipresent sort of like rival figure during the first part to then gain a lot more context, and it makes for an entertaining character. I don't want to say arc. He doesn't change.
No, he doesn't have an arc.
He doesn't change. I guess character.
He goes in an arc where he's like, I was right, but I need to be even more right now.
He's like, wait a minute, everyone does suck but me.
And that's why I have to be even
and then
worse.
He wins. He's like, yeah, everyone fucking sucks except me. I do it.
Well, I think I might have mentioned this briefly earlier. This manga does some things, like I said, that I appreciate it doing because they're in strict defiance of how you expect sports manga to play out. The very first chapter introduces a character that at that point is clearly leagues ahead of Isagi in terms of talent. Prior to them joining Blue Lock, he beats Isagi's team in the tournament that they're in. He's like already a recognized famous player when he's only like 14 years old. He gets interviewed by the media and he's like, oh, he's like going to be this big hope for Japan. He gets put in the same grouping as Isagi, and the very first test that they have is this game of hot potato, essentially, with a soccer ball, where the last person to touch the ball is, after like 10 minutes or something, is just immediately eliminated from the competition. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're the last person who touched the ball, you're out. He gets the ball kicked into his face at the last possible second by Isagi, and he just has a complete utter meltdown. He's like, I'm better than all these people. One of these talentless losers deserves to get out of here and not me. And he's kicked out of the Blue Lock program after he's been built up as this big rival character for Isagi to set his sights on, and he never shows up again. He's just gone forever in like chapter 3. So for the sheer shock value of that, I incredibly admire that choice. It gives you a sense that like, no, this is going to be different, and it keeps on surprising you with things that are sometimes just goofy, and sometimes things that are just, take a dramatic turn where you expect it to go left when it goes right. So it's, as a sports manga fan, this was different enough, executed well enough. It's got great artwork and nice, exciting moments that I quite enjoyed going through this manga.
I get to be the villain.
Yeah!
I like this manga. I think it is fun. There are good matches. The U20 match is sort of the last thing I got to read. It's the last thing that's been published in like the English volumes. It's like a really like entertaining match. There's a lot of things going. It is probably the most entertaining match thus far. For basically the reason that at least one team they're playing is like a full team and like not just a bunch of strikers. But it's like a full game and there's a lot of twists and turns. And like I was thinking, I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I got to the end and I was like, this is, I don't know how to phrase it. There's an energy to this series. Particularly when characters are like doing their cool thing and they're like going to the next level, entering flow, scoring their big goal, whatever it might be.
Right.
That it is deeply embarrassing to watch. Every time a character, their eyes will turn black, their face will get, it has all of the energy of a 12-year-old who is angry on fucking like Call of Duty, that you're just like, sure, dog. it's gonna be real cool that you're screaming this much about this. Like, I was like, this is the exact opposite. Like, every time something cool is about to happen, a character has to show up and be like, get out of my way, the face! I'm going to be the devourer here! And you're like, come, like, does no one else see this? Like, there's a character we get introduced to whose name is Rin. And he is, from when he is introduced, the best player in Blue Lock. He carries that title all the way through the point that I'm doing. He is the number 1 ranked player. He's better than everybody else. And he's sort of like this quiet, aloof player. He gives a lot of like Taka from the Alexander's kind of energy. Like very like, I am just above all of you. And I don't care what you guys do. Which is why he teams up with 2 of maybe the most annoying characters in the manga. But we don't have time to talk about them. Just one of them talks like the fucking Mark Zuckerberg clone from South Park. That's just like Stoyle. He just has that kind of like energy to him, and then like you get into this match where he's like, I'm gonna be the big character in all of this because my brother is in here, and that's my entire character personality, which is a really poorly written story. Unfortunately, that was like one of the biggest disappointments in the manga for me. I was like, this is why he hates his brother so much. This sucks. But I was like, whatever, I can just ignore it. Like there's characters with bad stories. He is feeling like he is being left behind, so he enters the flow, which is, you know, the manga's term for like getting ultra instinct activating exclusively off of just pure, you know, animalistic.
He's in the zone.
Yeah. His version of it is for his tongue to flop out of his mouth, his eyes to go narrow, and for everyone to say he's having a fetish for destroying people. And you're like, this is deeply embarrassing to read. Like, I don't know how anyone else, like, I had to check. I asked her Discord, I was like, when you see an image like this, how do you feel about Asagi? Because I was really like, maybe everyone's in on this joke. That, like, this is just so silly. Like, you're just laughing at it. And everyone's like, I think this is really cool. And I was like, you know what? All right, I got my answer. I've not been able to buy in on this. Every time it happens, I think Asagi looks very silly. I also don't like Asagi as a character. He just doesn't have as much like personality. He doesn't, in a series where everyone pretty much has the same motivation, you stop really getting a ton of investment in him for me. And like anytime he goes in his, you know, super ultra observation mode, it just doesn't read as cool to me. So I think this series is good. I just think there is like an abrasive edgelord sort of attitude in this series that does not come off as cool, and for me is very like, you know, wary inducing, I guess. Like every time I see him, I'm just like, okay. So I appreciate Blue Lock. I will continue to read the volumes probably as they come out. But I like, after I read this, I was like, okay. Well, like, I think to Haikyuu, where I'm like, that was a sports manga that after I read it, I'm thinking about it in, like, moments of my life where I'm not even thinking about it in the context of volleyball. Like, that's how significant that series was in terms of, like, its message and characters and things like that. And then I'm like, I guess when I think of a soccer match, every so often I'll be like, oh, sure. Yeah, Blue Lock. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I mean, I totally get you. Because of the context that Blue Lock established itself in, it is like impossible to get anything from it except soccer, because they are very specifically stripping themselves of any and all possible distractions and focuses outside of get good at kickball. They can't go out and have a casual fun time together and get to know each other as people. No.
Yeah,
we're going to sleep and prepare for the match that we have tomorrow.
There is zero downtime in this manga. Like, it is astonishing at times.
And I feel like if there were some of that, this would definitely ascend past, I had a really fun time reading this. There are so many sports manga I like better than this, but it might just be that I was starving for a decently illustrated and paced sports manga. It's been so long since I've read a good one that maybe I'm in my mind exaggerating this a little bit. But in terms of what this manga does do, I did definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, this is a very popular series, so, you know, it just had a big anime star.
Don't know if the Japanese soccer team knows what the manga says about Japanese soccer.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, criticism and things like that I'll be curious to see if like it gets addressed at some point, because the manga is basically just like, yo, it sucks to play soccer in Japan. Does this fucking blow? This fucking stinks, dude. We were like cool blossoming flowers, and then they fucking cut us down. This blows 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. Also, this is like a last thing I want to do, because this has really bothered me. So when we get introduced to our main character, our first group of characters, they're Team Z, and this is when they mentioned they play 11 on 11. But, like, one dude on the team, they go through all their different, like, special abilities. And one dude's like, I'm an all-rounder, so I guess I'll play goalie, ? Or whatever. And I sat the entire time. I was like, why does this motherfucker choose to, like... I know why he has to for this series. But I'm like, he entered into this competition to play goalie. I was like, maybe we're going to get an answer for that at some point in time. No, they passed the first round. He gets eliminated in the second exam off screen, and we haven't seen him since. So maybe like 200 chapters down the line, he'll show back up again and explain why he was just the one dude who was just like, I know I entered into this competition to be the best striker in the world, but I just decided I'll play fucking goalkeeper for my entire section in it.
I mean, there's like a very brief thing in one of the volume extras, I think, that shows like which guys he teamed up with at that stage. But it's like, and then they lost, and that's just kind of it. You never get to see what he can do. Like, yeah, because of the nature of having to have 11 people on a soccer team, there are some people who are in that group that they play with that you just don't see what they're about, like at all.
I think,
and he is one of them, and I was right there with you, thinking like, there's this goalie guy who kind of like assumes the role of like the team captain after a certain point. I wonder what he's about. I wonder what we'll get to see from him as a striker. Nothing.
but I guess my favorite point is there is a match later on where Asagi has to fight one of his former teammates, and like it was like a big reveal, like who's the other person on this team that he has to face, and like it's one of the members of Team Z, and I literally sat there like, I don't remember this guy. I have no idea who this character is.
He's just not very good. I mean, that's kind of the point, is that he's also just not very good.
Yeah.
Given that. But yeah, there were a bunch of weirdos on Team Z. So it's like, oh, here's the guy with the weird eyes who does headbutts and stuff. Here's the guy that fucking cheated.
I kept waiting for that dude to show back up, because they were like,
nope, he's gone. He lost.
I have to assume, because they do establish at one point in time, because the character we do actually seemingly have some care about gets seemingly eliminated, but we see that they have an opportunity to do something else. So right. I wonder if that plays in later on. I've not read this entire series. I think 22 volumes of this manga are out, and I think 16 are available in English right now. So there is a stretch. Some stuff might happen there. Maybe characters do show up, or they're planning to show up at some point. But like, he was definitely one where you're like, I feel like we didn't finish this character's story. Like, I feel like he cheated, became a hero for a hot moment, and then just got fucking kicked off screen somewhere.
Yep. Well,
but one of the fucking twins made it through, so, you know, you get that.
Yeah, one of the twins. What a weird, way of addressing that kind of gimmick. Oh, all right. Yeah, so pretty strong thumbs up for me, and you're just kind of like, So
I still give it a thumbs up. I still give it a thumbs up. It is a fun sports manga, and I am probably in the minority with this series. It's very popular.
Thinking it's cringy.
I was trying not to use the word cringy, but yeah, I mean, you know, he calls it likes to see them.
All right, guys, we got some manga to talk about this week. Let's see if we can figure out what happened last week while we're going about it. We're gonna start with Undead Unluck.
Yeah,
chapter number 140.
Well, you should be on the forefront that like we didn't have an episode last week, and went into this week saying like, oh man, this is gonna be like a lot. So let's just not do last week. So we won't be talking about My Hero, One Piece, Spy Family, any of the chapters that basically came out. We're not really going to recap last week, Eden Zero. And we're not going to really recap last week's chapters either, because if we do, this episode would go on forever, and my animals eventually do demand me to feed them. So we can't do that, unfortunately. But
yeah,
my
blame Quinn's pets.
Yeah, fuck you, Professor Pan. But
send your hate mail.
I will say, character of the week was 100% Mash last week. I don't know who else it could be. I guess Henderson. You bet.
Fair enough.
Maybe it would just be chapter of the week, Mashle, and then character Henderson.
I don't know.
All right. Well,
my memory has grown. My memory has grown increasingly short term as we've done this podcast. I can't remember what happened last week specifically.
I was trying to help out Ninja as like a very like detailed spreadsheet of everything, and I know it's just going to be infuriating to be like, wait, I don't get to fill in that week.
Can we just say that I got the wrestler right last week then? Can we just do that?
No, now it creates the ultra mega tension because you're up 3-2 and there's 2 weeks left. So if you lose this week, it all comes down to next week. So that's the mega tension. All right. Undead Unluck, number 140, Metamorphall. And our color page is about the anime again. We get to see Void in full color, and I love that at some point, like, the voice actor is going to come in to be like, oh, cool, do I show back up? And they're like, yes! Like, fucking 3 seasons from now, we're going to need you back. So they're beginning the plan.
So clear your calendar.
Yeah. They're beginning the plan to capture Autumn, and they get there. I believe last week is kind of where they started to go through the plan. And Fuko's just like, yeah, I'll just get stabbed and you go into my book and you'll get a lot stronger as a result. So Fuko's like, yeah, I'm doing it now. I'll be using the Soul Calibur. The rest is up to you. So she rings out Gina using, obviously, Nightmare, who had a lot of blunt sweeping attacks. It was very easy to ring people out with him. I'm talking about Soul Calibur.
Oh, okay.
The video game. Everyone's favorite. And we actually get to a flashback where Fuko explains, like, hey, in the last loop, I killed you. And Gina's like, wait, weren't we on the same side? And Fuko's like, yeah, it's complicated, but, like, I needed to tell you this. I'm like, I wanted to be up on, the forefront about this because it wouldn't be fair. Like, once you've entered the book and you've seen my past, you can decide whether or not you want to help us out. And so whatever decision you make, I will accept it. Autumn is doing their attack that, like, turns everybody into books. So to defend Gina as she enters the book, we just see Nico throw out a bunch of shit, basically. Like, all right, these things will get turned into books. They look like giant sugar cubes. I think they're just giant cubes. But it basically gives the space now for Gina to get into it. And we do see her go back into the scenes she saw before, or the scenes we saw before, which is Fuko arriving at the lake and meeting Gina, and they just had, like, a friendly conversation at first. And our current Gina is watching us from afar. She gets a little embarrassed. She's like, wait, how old was I at this point? I'm still dressed like a schoolgirl? What the fuck's going on? But she's like, wow, these two look like they're having fun. Does Fuko really kill me? And then she sees, like, how crazy powerful she became and, the tragedy of that whole moment and then her eventual death from afar. And she's like, I see. Fuko and I both love the same person. And she follows to afterwards, to the point most people are told to kind of this is where you should probably start on Undead Unluck, actually, is in this scene right here, where Fuko and Andy kind of talk about everything that just happened in, like, a little bar or whatever. And she's like, she just killed me a few minutes ago, and then another person's like, oh man, she's really bawling her little eyes out. I wonder if she's gonna be able to make it down the line. And it's Gina. Gina's ghost is there. The Gina that died in the past.
Ghost exists because Ghost exists now.
Yes.
So
it makes sense.
Gina has a ghost. Yeah.
And she's just like, wait, what the hell's going on? She's like, wait, past Gina, I don't know what you'd call her, Ghost Gina, is like, wait a minute. She sees, current Gina, and she's like, the beret, the freckles. Are you past me? How did this happen? She's like, oh, well, there was a loop, and I've come back here to learn from you. And she's like, oh, really? Nah, fuck that. I'm not teaching you squat. She's just like, wait, no.
That sounds like work. It sounds difficult.
Yeah. And she's like, wait, I have to save everybody. She's like, why would I do that for a little ducky? Because she mentions, like, oh, what, this is for Juez? And she's like, no, actually, it's for Fuko there. She's like, yeah, fuck it. I don't fuck that guy. And she's like, oh, hey, you can't be going around wearing a baggy jacket. You got to wear something else your size or you can't flaunt your curves. And Gina's just like, well, no, Fuko said this is a good luck charm. So Ghost Gina's like, all right, show me the line. She opens it up. There's a little message in there, basically. And we just see Ghost Gina is just like, all right, you got me, little Lucky. Fine, I'll teach you everything using the trick. It's basically just like a little message of like me on one side and Daddy Dearest on the other one. It's like, okay, acknowledging that person existed. So she's like, all right, here's how you do it. You control Unchanged with your heart. No logic required, just catch that person. I want to protect that person. Do all those things, and it'll bring the change to Unchange. And she's like, so you gotta have... Presumably the conversation continues off screen, because she just says, you have to have someone, like, special to you right now. And Courage is just like, I do! It's Fuko! She's the first friend I've ever made! And
aww,
yeah, Gina's,
so pure.
Yeah, Gina's just like, all right, then protect her with everything you have. And remember, a friendship formed between two ladies who were once at each other's throats will remain unchanged till the end of time and beyond, as current Gina kind of floats out of the book. At that point, the fences against Autumn have kind of started to crumble. They're all out of material to like throw at them, but that's okay because Gina's shown up and uses her Unchanged to stop Autumn in its tracks. And she says, thanks, everyone, for believing in me. I won't let you change anything I hold dear. That's what my Unchange is. She has her fang now is very pronounced because her character is completed.
Yeah. And she's got a cool mantle as well that like sweeps out around her. She looks cool.
Yeah, and she got her funky hat as well.
Yeah, her beret expanded.
Yeah, well, she always had like that big giant hat before. So
yeah,
now we know how she gets it because it's like a little umbrella over her head, just like a little drawing in a jacket. This is a fine chapter. Like I wish we had gotten 2 chapters out of this in one. It does feel a little fast, but it was fun.
It was kind of fast paced, but in terms of like kind of getting us where we need to go, we I think spent enough time with Gina to make it feel like, oh, this is nice. It's nice that she got to go through this, and that, hey, this it does kind of give a sense of, it's an early sense of like, okay, some of the things that you would have wanted to happen from reading through the series previously that you're not going to get to see happen. Maybe that can happen now. Because now Gina and Fuko get to be cool friends who work together instead of Gina dies in chapter 8 or whatever.
Yeah, it is very much appreciated that we get to see a lot more about this character. We should also note, I forgot to mention it, we're just not talking about Ichinose's last chapter, so you can take that to mean what it means in regards to adding it to the recap.
Oh yeah, that's not happening. No. There was a little girl inside a cyborg boy's head, and goofy stuff happened. There's your chapter recap. I don't remember.
All right, Nick, we got to vote for it. Is it staying in the recap? I feel like it should.
I mean, if you want me to stumble blindly through it and just
hate life,
it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. I'm sorry. So, yeah. But speaking of things that are arduous for me to go through, let's talk about Boruto. All right, it's chapter 76, A Girl's Sanctuary, which features a color page with Ida as the cover. Where are her arms? I don't know.
It's in her fancy jacket.
Allegedly. There could be arms in there.
Oh, wouldn't that be crazy? Like her new powers, like, I don't need arms.
Look, I don't really see evidence that she has shoulders, is all I'm saying in this picture.
I'm more concerned
All
with
right.
her hair that doesn't seem to have ends. It just seems to be like infinite loops
It
that
goes back into itself.
that loop back into themselves.
That's her secret. It just goes back around into her head.
Her and Jotaro are gonna share hair tips, but it's gonna be in an alien language no one else can understand.
Last time we left off with Boruto experiencing some form of vision, which also Momoshiki experienced because they are attached and stuff. There's a conversation that's happening between Naruto and Amado and Shikamaru, and they just kind of recap some of the basic information that was shared in the previous chapter about how Delta came about because Amado was trying to resurrect his dead daughter, Akebi. Shikamaru thinks to say, hey, so Ida, what kind of a person was this Akebi, the original? Would she be a danger to Konoha? And I was like, I don't know. She seemed like just like an ordinary girl, so I don't think that she would have been a threat to you guys. And I was like, hey, what? Come on. Come on. I'm just trying to get my dead daughter back. Come on. She was like, I mean, I still don't really trust you. Also, to be honest, this is a quote. This reveal was quite anticlimactic to me. So, no comment. Just gonna literally let the manga speak for itself. And maybe just like turn this panel into an exploitable image and just use it in my everyday life from now on, whenever I want to. Amado brings up that he did certain things because, Kawaki doesn't like karma and he feels like he was forced into it. And Kawaki kind of like just decides to go through some character development in this one moment. And just like, well, I've always hated karma, but now I realize that the true cause of all my suffering was the Otsutsuki who put the karma in me. Okay.
Wait a minute.
You came to that conclusion. Cool.
Maybe I should hate the people who have done the injustice to me as opposed to the injustice itself. Oh, yeah. I'm starting to get this now.
It's like, all right, I'm glad that you had this moment of revelation that was sparked by... Anyway, Kawaki asks Amado a question. And he says, all right, so this daughter that you plan to resurrect with my karma, do you swear she won't turn into some new Otsutsuki? You pinky promise you won't do it? If you promise and swear, I'll believe you, but you have to swear, okay? So, Amado gets emotional. You can tell he gets emotional because he very slowly takes his glasses off and he presses his hands to his face and cups his head. So you can tell he's being very sincere when he talks about this, which is, this is my final option. And everyone's like, oh man, he's being so sincere right now.
I mean, I legitimately enjoyed this moment for the sake that it's like a real human expression of emotion happening, and for a series which is so frequently involved in discussions of alien resurrection and cyborg love mechanics. Like, it was just kind of nice to have a character speak to like a human emotion you could understand.
I just wish that this had come up in a different context because it for me doesn't feel like it fits in right now.
Well,
I definitely understand your point.
That's the thing about Boruto. I feel like I'd enjoy it if everything else was different as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I exist in the world we are in.
So everyone kind of just like gets awkward and decides to end the conversation. So everyone goes to bed in the big house that Ada and Damon are sharing with Boruto and Kawaki. But while Boruto is in bed, he is, having troubled thoughts about the premonition that he had. Ida and Kawaki are chilling, and Ida, there is actually kind of a cool little bit of panel arrangement so that, she's just kind of like in bed, just like awake, thinking to herself, but like her eyes kind of gaze through one panel into her obviously like spying on Kawaki with her ability in another room. It's like, all right, neat little thing. She's watching Kawaki even though they're not in the same room together.
Do you like the sound effect going on in the background? Does that enhance the scene for you?
All right, so then they have breakfast the next. I'm sorry, this is such a stupid moment. Boruto says while they're having breakfast the next day, "Hey, Ida, so you want to date Otsutsuki, right? So does that mean that you're into me too because I'm immune to her ability? Why would you be into Kawaki when you could be with this guy, right?"
I love it because it's the only moment where I like David. He's like, he just becomes a roast comic. He's like, have you ever looked into a mirror?
You look like a freak. You're so ugly.
With the mouth full of fucking pancakes. It's just like the most obnoxious stand-up comedian. Just like, I think you should take a look at a mirror and you get the answer to that question.
Naruto, your head looks like a broom. Oh my god. So Ada says, "Oh, you're wonderful too, Boruto, but I'm sorry. You're only 12, and I'm 16 already." And Boruto,
she's like that.
He starts to, I guess, get self-conscious because he's like, "Oh, but come on. Shouldn't age not matter?" And Damon's like, "You're ugly." Which I think Kawaki is 13 at most, so I guess that's a very important distinction for Ada. It's like, no. 3 years younger than me. I'm all over that. 4 years. That's just gross. Come on, I'm not.
He's 14, Nick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I looked it up on the Google. They said 14. So, I mean, that's a sizable difference. It's the difference between
when you're that age, yes.
Being like a high school junior and dating a freshman or dating like a 7th grader is a pretty, like, I don't know, in our context of like Americans, it's, you know, significant.
4 years.
It's also
4 years is a big difference for a teenager.
Yeah.
Yes.
It also is like, yeah, the age difference is crazy. Not like we're going to address the elephant in the room where my power allows adults to fall in love with me, but forces. Not allows, but forces.
Look, just because it comes up very bluntly later on doesn't mean we have to talk about it. So, yeah. But Kawaki notes like some stuff about like, hey, you know, you were working with Code before, and you used him to get close to me, and he hates me, and he wants to feed me to the 10 tails, but he said he would not go after me because of his deference to you. You sold Boruto out to Code, didn't you, in order to secure my safety? Because your alliance would never hold under that kind of agreement, right, Ada? And Ada is just like not even like paying attention to anything that he's saying because she's like, "Oh my god, Kawaki's talking to me! Oh my god!" And Kawaki goes, "Your face says I'm right." Like he's reading her.
I wish this is always Ada's character, where like she doesn't have the ability to engage in like a proper conversation because she's just so much of just a lovesick teenager. It's when she's at her best. It's when she has to start monologuing that you're like, I'm done. I think even David has to be like, you've got brains there, buddy. Despite your looks, everyone's ugly but me. You should get a bowl cut.
Boruto gets increasingly pissed off about how he's just been called ugly repeatedly while they've been eating this meal.
Have you considered wearing a red leather jumpsuit? It's the style!
So Ada very suddenly pounds the table and says, "There's not enough girls here. I can't express myself properly. Bring Sarada and Kake over here so that I can have girl talk with them right now." And so they immediately password over to the observation team with Konohamaru and Mitsuki and Sarada. And Sarada's like, "I guess I gotta go." Sure. Mitsuki starts to volunteer, and Konohamaru's like, "No, we would get too horny for her. We need to stay here.
Oh, please
we would get too horny.
Please don't let them ever say that.
16-year-old.
Please don't ever let them say that in those words. They use like the term captive throughout the rest of the chapter, and I'm like,
charm.
Please use that. Everything else is so awful.
Oh God! So Sumire gets contacted too, and she's like, "All right." Well, she asked me specifically. Okay, Delta's like, "I can't let you go alone. Let me go." And Sumire is like, "No, no, no, no." So that's that. And then she could die.
Well, it's not as simple as that. She's like, if you try to follow me, I'll turn you off again, as we control the rights to your consciousness.
Yeah, that's right. You've got no actual free will. And Delta goes,
like,
you meanie! Because this is all a big joke. Oh, wacky times at the stealing away someone's agency good guy facility.
Yeah, the professor's just like, oh, I'll keep an eye on her.
If need be, I'll put her in her box and not let her out. Ugh. So she can I don't.
It's almost like they just wanted to explain. Like they were like, "Who haven't I made look like a babbling buffoon yet?" Shikadai agrees to come along.
Shikadai, I think I specifically noted, for some reason, Shikadai does not react the way that Inojin and Chocho and Delta do when he sees.
Yes, we did mention last time. It's like it feels like there's like a weird discrepancy in people like who does immediately fall for.
And is this? There's a little bit of is it just because he didn't get a good look at her? Is it because maybe her ability is not affecting him in some way? Maybe this will be something where Shikadai gets involved in the plot in some way. So Shikadai says, well, I don't seem to be susceptible to her charm, so I'll come along too. Turn the page. Ah! Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful! And Ada's immediately like, yeah, can you go home? Yeah. So that's it. Bye, Shikadai. He just didn't get a good look at her before. That's it.
Yeah. I also like the idea that, I mean, they knew what she asked for. She's like, I want girls to talk to. And Shikadai was just like, I know how to gossip with these bitches. I'll go along.
Look, I understand how to gossip with girls, okay? I am Shikadai. And as has been clearly demonstrated in every social interaction I have had in this manga, I understand how to relate to teenage girls. Like all those chapters where I've interacted with teenage girls in the manga so far. Me, Shikadai.
It's basically
right?
the Shikadai story when you think about it.
Published a hardcover novel, the Shikadai story.
It's like, here's what I was doing when all the cool stuff was happening. When
trading cards.
When Ashin or whatever his name was attacked the village and like they were talking about nuclear fission stuff was going on. So I was eating my breakfast, right? Like some stone cutouts and shit like that. It was real wild. And then I read everything that happened in the news when I saw Boruto on Ninja Conan later on. Wild. This is my story.
Ada makes some kind of pose. I don't know if she's standing up or if she's just posing. It's her body is in a very weird posture.
She's standing up, I believe. It's not clear. I
guess. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, let's go talk, Sarada and Sumire. Let's go talk where there are no boys." And honestly, this is the most I have enjoyed Boruto in months. Without irony or loving how bad it is. Or maybe it is loving how bad it is, but stuff that happens in the next few pages, I literally was like, oh my god, I'm actually having fun reading this stupid series right now. Not talking about it, but actually reading it.
I do love, in a stupid line, they take the girls over to a room, but we give an establishing shot to see that it's 8 feet from where the boys are, and at no point do they show a door closing. They're just
so Boruto's just leaning over the back of the couch I want to see what the girls are talking about. So they're looking over there, And then we cut to Ada's bedroom, where I think she has demanded that the other girls take their shoes off so that they could be in bed together, and they're all hugging pillows, because this is a sleepover now, and it has to be as stereotypical as possible, as they're all hugging a bed side by side in the same bed. Hugging a pillow side by side in the same bed.
This is supposed to be like a nice house, right? Like, why does this room look so shitty?
All the stone tiles everywhere, yeah.
Like, what? Like, fucking poor Samira is like, I guess I'll just sleep next to this fucking wall. What the fuck? There wasn't enough floor space that I could roll out of the bed on my side? What is this?
The headboard of the actual bed is far too long for the bed.
Yeah, it's you would assume you'd make it thicker and then, like, recess it and make it like a bookshelf or something. It's just someone was like, hey, I got this big slab of obsidian. What do you want me to do with it? Like, oh, that'll make a great fucking headboard of my fucking mommy to my tiny little guest house.
Ada wants to just talk about her big crush on Kawaki, and honestly, like, it's pretty, like, normal kind of stuff. Just like, look, I get nervous and weird around him, and I can't look him in the eyes, and it, like, kind of makes me happy that I feel that way, but also I can't, like, interact with him properly and stuff. And Sarada is just like, what the fuck? This is, like, the most powerful ninja on Earth right now, and all she wants to do is talk about boys. This is kind of stupid. But meanwhile, she and Sumire are trying not to...
Meta writing at its finest.
Yeah, pretty much. So, meanwhile, they're trying not to, like, meet eyes with Ada because they don't want to fall prey to her ability directly. And when Ada makes eye contact with her, because she, like, looks specifically at her, is like, what do you think about this? And Sarada talks about, you know, falling in love in the most vague, I have no experience because I'm 12 terms possible. But when she meets Ada's eye, she's like, oh my god, I can, like, feel the force from her overwhelming me. Up until Sumire gets Ada's attention and says, hey, so what do you like about Kawaki? Which, I'm glad somebody asked the question. I am very happy. And Ada does say, like, well, it's a given that, like, you know, I don't have to worry about him falling prey to my ability. But honestly, I don't actually know why I feel the way I feel about him. Which is fair enough. By the way, did you know that Sumire and Sarada both have communication ninja abilities? They do. Just so you know. It does. Maybe it's come up before. I don't remember it. They start psychically communicating while Ada's literally sitting in between them.
Yes.
And Sumire brings up the point of, like, hey, so don't freak out or anything, but are you, like, immune to Ada's ability? You're not, like, reacting the way that everyone else has been reacting around her. And Sarada is like, oh, yeah, I now you mentioned, I guess I am. And Sumire says, yeah, and I don't think I've been affected either, but listen, don't let her know about this. Because if she finds out that there are people around her who are immune to her abilities, and thus could potentially be a threat to her, then we'll lose an advantage, and she also might not agree to be in this situation anymore.
In a better manga, they would explain why these two can just fucking stare at each other for like 5 minutes having this conversation while Ada's like, in a better manga, you would show that Ada is clearly daydreaming about riding across like a forest with Kawaki or something like.
Imagining Kawaki as a unicorn who flies through the air with her.
Yeah, something like that to explain why she's just cool with these two just staring at each other for like 3 minutes straight.
Well, Quinn, she closes her eyes in this one panel, so maybe she just, like, decides to take a nap.
Yeah. She's like, you all bore me. Shoo, shoo.
We get some more very on the nose, out of nowhere. By the way, Sarada, you like Boruto, don't you? Talk, which, again, show don't tell. Like, I'm not going to say that Sarada can't have a crush on Boruto, but it's really weird that the only times it literally ever gets hinted at or brought up are when other people accuse her of having a crush on Boruto. Because, again, that's
they barely interact.
Yeah.
Truly, the only ship in this series that ever has anything really weighing on it is like Kawaki and Boruto. They're the only characters that like constantly interact and have like an evolving relationship.
Hell, Kawaki and Ada is a better established ship than Sarada and Boruto at this point in terms of stuff purely in the manga. I'm not talking about stuff in the anime, because I know that that's been running for every week for like 5 years or something at this point. So maybe there's more ship teasing in that. I'm just saying, from what we've read, there's like no evidence outside of people saying, you like Boruto, and her being like, what? No, I don't.
That's crazy. You're crazy. Come on.
Sarada is being gaslit into this heteronormative ass ship. So Sumire, like, tries to say to Sarada, like, look, you gotta pretend that you're actually a captive of her ability so that we actually can, hide this ace that we've got, basically. And so Sarada is like, oh yeah, I can't, being around you makes my heart pound. And Ada gets sad because she's like, oh, I can't have an ordinary boyfriend with this ability. I can't even hope for ordinary friends. And it's like, yeah, in a better series, this would actually be very tragic. But right now, haven't explored that angle nearly enough. All this stuff gets passed to Shikamaru, fortunately off panel, so we don't just reiterate all the same points. And there's just a cut to where Boruto and Damon are kind of getting along because they're just playing a fighting game against each other.
They're playing Pokemon Ninja, it sounds like.
Pokenin, yeah. So it's like, what a bizarrely human moment where these two idiots are just playing a video game with each other. So Shikamaru says, like, okay, well, it's possible that you guys could kill Ada. And if they catch on, they might just kill you because they'll see you as a threat. So don't let on about this. And in fact, don't bring this up to Boruto. Don't bring this up to Kawaki. It's better if you don't tell anyone, because the more people who know about it, the more people could potentially leak it. So this has got to be a secret just between the three of us, essentially.
Yes.
But Sarada looks at Ada and she says, hey, look, I know that you're not interested in me being like, the most important person in your life. But what if we were to become friends? Would you be okay with that? And Shikamaru, meanwhile, is like, you guys can kill Ada! You guys can kill her! You guys can kill Ada!
Do it!
Momoshiki, meanwhile, is talking to himself, which Boruto overhears because they're still connected. And Moshiki's like, I know what Ada's ability is that lets her charm people. And Boruto's like, tell me! No! Fuck you. And that's basically it. And then Kawaki realizes, like, wait a minute, Boruto, you've got a look on your face like you're very obviously angrily talking to someone who's not in the room. You're talking to Momoshiki Otsutsuki, aren't you? And so he just goes over to Boruto and starts talking to Momoshiki through him. That's where the chapter ends.
Boruto's eyes aren't 100% focused right in that last panel.
No, he looks weird. Look, stuff happened in this chapter that had like potential dramatic consequences, and it featured Sarada being teased as getting to do something. So in my book, this gets an easy C-, which is the highest grade I've given to Boruto in a long time.
Put it on the board.
Yeah, high mark.
I agree with you. I think this is actually probably one of the better Boruto chapters, minus the very uncomfortable art, but unfortunately that is just this series at this point, so I don't want to dwell on that. But like, I was like, I liked Amato's little moment of humanity. I think Kishimoto is good at writing about like a parent's connection to their children. It is something he is, I think, become very good at. So I did enjoy that. And like, I don't know, the girl talk was silly and dumb, but like, yeah, I don't know, like two characters who don't do dick are like supposed to be important. So it's like, I don't know, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be like, hey, Mitsuki, can you get up on the roof and like fix the cable dish? Like, just so everyone does something to Zerk.
Mitsuki's like, I'm glad I'm being included. So now you gotta stay up there. Now a little bit to the left.
Yeah. Okay, wow. Jesus, we spent so long on Boruto, even though I thought we weren't going to.
That's Boruto. Chainsaw Man, chapter 114.
And I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more. The chapter.
Gotcha. Endless Aquarium. They're in a very long hallway that they're stuck in. Asa is getting increasingly angry at Denji. Denji says, hey, look, I know more about devils than you think. And Asa shoots back with, well, I know more than you. I'm in the Devil Hunter Club. Which is very silly. Speaking of the Devil Hunter Club, they show up. Minus, of course, Fami. because she's doing all this stuff. But they have a different member with them, who a lot of people have potential theories on the identity of. Well, we'll talk. Which a lot of people think that it might be like they might be related to Kobeni, because those look like Kobeni's eyes, and that seems like Kobeni's attitude. Very, very nervous.
I just like that
for their life
every generation has their own Kobeni, just this poor motherfucker who shouldn't be involved in this.
A couple of different times, the president of the Devil Hunter Club / student council tries to introduce himself, Haruka, but the first time he gets interrupted by Yoshida, and Denji's like, Yoshida, what the hell are you doing here? It's like, oh, it's a coincidence. I wanted to look like fish. I just wanted to look at fish, and I came to the aquarium, and turns out I got trapped here by a devil. But one of the members of the Devil Hunter Club identifies him as, a devil hunter. So there's that. The potential Kobeni relation freaks out a bit. They reestablish, like, okay, a devil's power is making the hallway go on forever. Asa's the only one who knows that Fami is related to all of this. The others like, oh, there's like an eternity devil that is associated with this and everything. Then Asa remembers, as Haruka is like properly introducing himself and being like, hey, we're going to exterminate the devil and we're going to survive this. She thinks, oh, right, he's Chainsaw Man. So maybe if we follow his lead, I can get out of here without turning Denji into a weapon. And actually, if I kill him, I won't need to turn anyone into a weapon. Which, I mean, if you kill... bit of weird relation here, but I guess she's determined to kill Chainsaw Man because he's Chainsaw Man's an asshole. So, but then she starts to doubt her abilities to do either of those things anyway, and she starts to kind of lean over, get depressed a little bit. Everyone starts walking. There's just kind of a montage of them trying to go through the hallway and figure some stuff out. There is kind of a funny moment where you see Haruka get up on one of the other members' shoulders to look through the ceiling, and his head just comes up through the floor of another identical hallway, which is kind of funny. Fortunately, they're able to find a break room or employee lounge of some sort within the stretch of hallway that is looping, and there's drinking water within the refrigerator. And they could just keep on going to identical rooms just like this and get drinking water from them. So there's like, we're not going to run out of water anytime soon. But the nervous kid says, oh, but we're going to starve to death without food. Oh, right, there's a fish tank right over there. So Yoshida and the other member go and grab some fish, and they're like, oh, if we cook these, we'll survive for a while. The kid has a lighter because my bullies make me light their cigarettes, which is very sad. So they're like, yeah, and if we use some of the newspapers from the lounges, we make like a cooking fire, and we can cook things. Hooray! Asa says, I can't eat fish. And was like, why can't you fucking eat fish? And she says, it looks too much like a dead animal, and it grosses me out. And all the Devil Hunter Club members and Yoshida just look at her. And she gets really, really nervous. Is like, I need to leave. I need to go outside. And she goes outside to catch her breath. Runs into Denji. And they have another Denji and Asa moment, which is like, what are you doing? And Denji says, well, there's 1,000 yen in a bag on the ground, and I was picking it up. Which, if he's able to take that outside of the loop with him, I think that'll be great. Just he keeps on going and picking up the same 1,000 yen note.
It would be awesome.
Asa calls him a thief, and he's like, "It's finders keepers. Fuck you." And they just kind of yell at each other. Asa gets mad at him. He's like, "Go to hell! No, you go to hell!" They're just pointing at each other, yelling, "Go to hell!" at each other repeatedly because they're children, essentially. So Asa's like, he's the worst. Maybe I should turn him into a weapon. Right, Yoru? Yoru's still not there. So Asa's like, okay, well, I'm not a loser like Denji. I can contribute to the group. And that's when she realizes she's got a cell phone. It's a flip phone. And everyone's like, oh my God, you got a phone? And she says, well, it's technically my mom's, but yeah. And while she's looking to get a signal, she thinks, "Oh, I think I actually had a bar for a second." And they're like, "All right, yeah, let's get us a signal. We can call for help from devil hunters from outside of here." There starts to be this celebration, and they're like, "Yeah, we could do it." But as Asa is reaching up to try and get a signal, she loses her balance and falls over backwards and smashes the cell phone on the door behind her and snaps the top of the flip phone off. And it's just broken. Hope stashed. Yoshida actually kind of laughs
again.
a bit.
It strikes again.
Yeah, her poor clumsy behavior. Yeah, also trips a lot. Yoshida laughs a little bit because he's a weird sicko. But Haruka is just the worst little asshole because he's like, "Oh man, you complain, you're not a team player, you fail to come through in the clutch. I expected better from you." Just dismisses her outright. And the chapter ends with Asa going outside in the hallway to just put her head
be
in her
sad,
knees, be upset. She's just sad. And that's the end of the chapter. Asa is sad. Yep. The end. Yeah. Nice chapter. I feel bad for Asa.
Yeah. Feel bad, and you're like, I hope her and Denji become friends. I know they're not going to, really, but it'd be nice.
All right. Akane-banashi, story 43, Wonder Child. So Akane has gotten through seeing Urara's masterful performance. Now she gets to see Rokuro's performance. And Urara has specifically asked her to pay attention to this. But before we get to see that, we get the reintroduction of Kashio, the journalist who we followed for a lot of the Karaku Cup as he was observing Akane and the other contestants. He recognizes Akane, comes up to her, introduces himself, and is like, "Oh yeah, I wrote that article that went viral about you." And Akane is like, "Can I punch you in the face?"
I do love it. Really I see. Is it okay to punch you in the face then?
Because, for her perspective, the fact that she got that reputation largely as a result of that article going viral has caused a lot of problems for her in terms of the way that she is looked down on by people who are established in the Rakugo world. And Kashio doesn't really understand that at first. But they get he gets a kind of a catch up as to why Akane is here right now. He feels bad that Akane is in that situation. But then he says, "But it's kind of cool that all this is happening for you because all these rising talents are clashing on stage," which Akane doesn't really get. And Kashio just kind of Rakugo fans in the conversation a bit, saying, "Oh, there's these different standards between the different schools that are clashing against each other. Tradition versus reform. They're polar opposites." And Akane is like, but they're just like at the same event. So how is this a battle? And Kashio says, "Well, once you see Rokuro's performance, then you'll probably start to understand." And Rokuro starts to go into his performance, which is called The Carpenter's Inquiry. It features three major characters, a carpenter, their boss, and the carpenter's landlord, who have a thing going on where when they're trying to negotiate the rent because the landlord is withholding the carpenter's tools. And as Akane is watching it, she's like, "Oh yeah, there's this, nice kind of laid back performance that's going on." And Kashio says, "Well, Rokuro did say before that today's style was Coltrane." And yes, Rokuro is big into music, specifically in this case, jazz, because Rakugo is sound and it's comprised of tones. And the more that Akane pays attention, she starts to realize, oh yeah, so this character kind of mumbles lightly like the drums, and the carpenter has a high-pitched voice like the brass, and then the landlord has a quiet voice like the strings. And that's why people are listening so carefully, because of the sound of his voice and the way that they all flow together. It sounds like a beautiful arrangement. But then Kashio says, yeah, but on Coltrane days, his stories are slow and gentle to begin with, and then they go into overdrive in the latter half. And suddenly, Rokuro goes from having this just nice conversation with himself to screaming and yelling, and his voice gets really, really, really sped up and loud and powerful. And we get this just full page spread of him just yelling out this paragraph that overpowers people in this huge cacophony. And Kashio says to Akane on the side, when young Rakugoka appear at Master Urara's events, they either shrink up, or they try too hard, or they suck up to her. But Rokuro is different. All he does is try to get the biggest reaction of the day, no matter whom he's performing alongside. And that's how he stood out among all the apprentices at the Kashiwaya school, and it's why they call him the Wonder Child.
Oh.
Yep. And so Akane starts to realize, like, this must be what Master Urara wanted to see. And then Kashio says, like, Rokuro actually used to get in all kinds of fights because he's kind of got this combative personality and he would argue with the older apprentices. So in a way, he's kind of similar to you. People would talk about Rakugo events like they're all the same, but really each have their own style. Some are fun and informal, but others, like today's, are tense and competitive. And I hope that when you appear in his event, it'll also be tense and competitive. Because that's the kind of Rakugo I got to see at the Karaku Cup, and that's the kind that I think that you're really good at. So Akane starts to get fired up. She kind of gives herself a big slap in the face, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go do this." So she's reinvigorated after all that she's been through at this event and talking to these various different people.
I want the Rakugo guy who they reveal like what their specialty is, and they're like, this guy. Do you ever see Police Academy? He does crazy sound effects like that one dude, Peter Winslow. It's wild. Like, he's like, yeah, the helicopter to a story. It shouldn't have been a helicopter there, but it legitimately sounded like a helicopter was in the room.
It takes place hundreds of years before the helicopter was invented, but it's just so impressive.
It was like a feudal Japan story, so no one really questioned when a police siren showed up, because like it really did sound like a police siren was there. That's all I had to add. Let's talk about Blue Box.
Blue Box!
Blue Box!
Chapter number 82, Where It Hurts. So Taiki was on his not a date with Chinatsu, and then they ran into Matsuoka, who very obviously was like, "Oh, you're just Chinatsu's hanger-on Kohai. You can fucking go home now because her real love interest is here. You're just gonna get in the way, so you could just totter off back home."
Yeah.
And fortunately, Taiki does not buckle, and he doesn't just take it. While Chinatsu, he just says, "We plan to go out together. You're the one who should," but Chinatsu shows up before he gets super confrontational again. So Matsuoka puts on a happy face, and Taiki's like, he's got the face of a devil, he's just trying. But Chinatsu immediately sees through his act, and he says, "Yeah, you look untrustworthy, like you always do, basically." There continue to be some more like slight barbs from Matsuoka towards Taiki about like how short he is, and he also brings up like, "Hey, this reminds me of like when we were on the team in junior high and we went to a cafe after practice. We wanted to go somewhere fancy, right?" And Chinatsu tries to include Taiki in the conversation. It's a nice gesture. Like, "Oh yeah, this is the place we went to. Are you familiar with it?" And Matsuko just like rides past. It's like, no, I want to talk about a thing that happened there. You remember when Nagisa tried to look cool by ordering an espresso, and Chinatsu, plain smile on her face, says, "Oh no, that was Yumeka." Just corrects him.
Destroys him in that moment.
It is some of the most impressive, subtle conversational ownage that you will see in a shonen manga. Just very, very obvious, yet also subtle. It's great. And Taiki also starts to kind of think about who Yumeka is, but he gets distracted when dessert comes by, which is very relatable. It's like, it's so good.
I wonder who Yumeka. Oh my god, this lemon meringue is blowing my mind.
And in one of the most precious goddamn moments, Matsuoka is trying to be cool and suave and funny for Chinatsu, And because Taiki's having a good time eating dessert, Chinatsu's just looking at him and she's laughing and smiling because he's enjoying himself. It's so goddamn precious.
Yeah.
Once they're done at the cafe, Matsuoka again tries to get rid of Taiki because they're like, oh, talk about we could go somewhere together and stuff. And Chinatsu realizes she's left something in the cafe. Again, Taiki and Matsuoka are alone, and Matsuoka barbs him again, and he's like, hey, you don't have time to be in a relationship, right? Because you lost to Haru the other day, and there's other people that you can't beat. So compared to your teammates, you kind of suck. But me, I'm pretty awesome at basketball, so I can easily handle both. And Taiki just says, I can do both too. And Matsuoka's like, yeah, you sure about that? Chinatsu comes back. Taiki is he's holding it together in terms of the conversation, but like he's very clearly about to lose. He's like, he's
tilted.
Cold sweat.
He's tilted.
I just hold it together. He's holding it together, but this is not having no effect on him. Matsuoka, Chinatsu starts to say something to him, but then he's like, oh, I just got a text. Hey, there's some upperclassmen at the university who are going to play basketball. So why don't we go, Natsu? Because their team is really good, and I think we would have a great learning experience. And they said that I could invite whoever I want. And Chinatsu starts to object because, she'd be ditching Taiki. But Taiki looks at her and says, you should go. It would be a great learning experience for you, so don't worry about me. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to practice myself. So Matsuoka, very non-subtly, reaches out and kind of, turns Chinatsu away from Taiki so that they can go to the basketball game and ditch him. And Chinatsu, spares a look over her shoulder and she's like, But Taiki lets them go. And he thinks to himself, it would have been nice to go to more places with Chinatsu-senpai, but I also want to support her in her club activities. And if I compete with that asshole, then that's not going to do her any good. And as he's thinking that, and he's going to the station, he runs into Chinatsu on the platform. And she's looking sad. And so when she turns, she sees Taiki, and she says, oh, I thought that you had left on the train. And Taiki's like, yeah, I stopped to wash my hands. I thought you were going to go play basketball. And Chinatsu just has this, I don't know how to describe the look on her face. And I will say that that's just a nice thing that kind of keeps coming up in Blue Box, is that sometimes Chinatsu makes faces that you can tell have meaning behind them, and they're kind of just hard to tell what's going on in her head.
I love her expressions. I love, we see that when there's the establishing shot of her on the platform, a train is leaving. So it's a shot of her looking at the train and then being sad. She really was hoping she can't. Yeah, and she was, oh.
But in this case, it's appropriate that it's harder to tell what's going on because it's literally Taiki's point of view while looking at her. And Chinatsu's like, oh yeah, I just kind of realized that I don't have a proper change of clothes to play basketball. And Taiki just thinks to himself, I'm glad that she came back and we can just, go back home together. And he says, yeah, let's go home together. But he also thinks, I still know that I have a lot to do. But that's not quite the last moment that we end on. Instead, it's someone approaching Nagisa and saying, oh yeah, I found this photo. Who's that person in number 4? And they look at the picture and Nagisa says, oh, that's Yumeka. And Yumeka is holding a trophy while they have their arm around Chinatsu's shoulders. So indicating that this was someone who had at least a close teammate relationship with Chinatsu. So clearly, if this person was close enough to Chinatsu and someone didn't fucking remember them, of course she would be kind of upset about that.
Yeah,
but
also
Taiki knew a little bit about them, so.
Well, it's also, this is a character who seemingly isn't on the team anymore, so the question has to be why is this person not on the team anymore? So it feels like we're about to get a small little mini arc about this character and potentially some old wounds that might open up with Chinatsu about it.
Yeah, this was a really cool little chapter. Yeah, it's just people going to a freaking cafe and having tension between them. But there's a lot of really nice little things going on with the expressions and the way people react to stuff. I loved reading this chapter.
Yeah, very, very good. All right, Nick, let's talk about morgues.
Morgue!
Give me those morgues.
So to just explain
morgue.
So Iroha succeeded and failed to solve the cipher that he was given by one of Toshisai's cohorts last time. He solved it, but not within the time limit he was given, which meant that their competition went to a no contest, and he didn't have to give up the glasses. Yes. But he also has been given this secondary cipher by the other member of that trio, and he has no fucking clue what it means. It has been ranked with like the max possible difficulty in the grading system of the series, which finally gets an actual explanation from a little. There's little bits that are from Kogoe in this chapter where there is an explanation of like, this is what the difficulty rating system basically means. Lowest difficulty means you can kind of just figure it out immediately. A little bit higher means if you just kind of stare at it, you can figure it out. And then max difficulty, like, you can't solve it, essentially. Iroha is in class puzzling over this. He is approached by another character who we've had introduced, but only in like one panel so far. Sunka, who is the class's Gyaru. And she locks giant manacles around Iroha's wrists.
Comedically large. Like, these are massive.
Just massive. And she says, I'll give you the key to my heart. Go ahead and choose. And she presents him with 5 keys and says, I want to see how you managed to pull a draw with Omomuro. And Iroha reaches for one of the keys, and Emilia snatches away at the others and is like, oh yeah, good job. Yeah. And she just kind of shows off essentially like, hey, look at this. See? Because Iroha did successfully get the manacles off.
I love that every motherfucking kid at this school apparently just has the money to like create stupid puzzles like this at a whim. Like, I want to see the scene that leads up to this where she's walking through the school with a bag of giant manacles and like a shit ton of keys, and
gotta go and fuck with Iroha's head. Yeah.
Someone's like, what are those for? Like, challenging another student. Like, sounds good to me. Like, the faculty at this school just constantly is just like, sounds good to me. Carry on.
She goes over to Oboro, the Chuni looking girl.
She had to make these keys, Nick, is what I'm thinking. Like, she had to make them. Like, so much work went into this.
And essentially she explains, because Oboro's like, what the fuck was that? And she says, well, look, if you present the keys to someone, that doesn't necessarily mean that one of the keys will get you out of the manacles, but he still arrived at the right answer because he realized that one of the keys was just different from the other 4, and his instincts gave him the right answer when someone else might have doubted themselves or not seen the difference between the keys. And I will say, I can officially say, I solved a puzzle from this series without any hints. I realized what the solution was for once. It's like, okay, good. There's a solvable puzzle in this goddamn series.
Well, that's the thing, though. She kind of presents the idea that it might not have been the answer because she's like, or maybe the other 4 keys were the right. And you're like, well, then what is this puzzle about then? It was just a guessing game at that point. Do I go with the one that's different, or do I go with the ones that are all the same?
Yeah, you could have very well had like the general like pick up puzzle book kind of solution, which is, oh, you recognize that one of the keys is different from the others because they're identical. Or you could have the logic of like, well, maybe one of the keys is defective and the other 4 are the right ones. And it's like, how can you say? They get a new assignment from their teacher, which is based on seating assignments, and the class seating order is going to be decided by tetramino, which is like the way the Tetris pieces appear with the 4 bricks that take different geometric patterns. Of course, Toshisai is the first person to solve it. They're like, Iroha kind of like looks around between a few people, seeing how well they do it. there's tension between Toshusai and a member of the upper class named Nohime, who basically calls Toshusai new money. So Toshusai says, "Kiss my ass," in the most blatant, straightforward way.
She fucking milks it, because every part of it is like ellipses, so it sounds like she's like, "Kiss my ass."
Like everyone heard this. There's no way.
Someone's like, "Well, I would reprimand you, but all of our punishments are in the form of more puzzles, and I think you'd enjoy that, so I guess I'll just stop."
Iroha opts not to use the glasses to solve this puzzle, both because he doesn't want to become overly reliant on them, and also because like it's not going to be fun if I do that. So he ends up failing to actually solve it, and then we get an explanation afterwards of how the puzzle can be solved, which is to essentially imagine the 5 Tetramino bricks being put together into the 4x5 square that currently determines the class's seating arrangement, and then you use that to figure out which of the squares within each piece represents which of the students. Which, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. They say afterwards, like, okay, so now this was just the way of determining who gets the first pick of Kitty, of who
he's really
gets
desperate
to choose
for attention right now, so I apologize. A bunch of people probably just
fine.
heard a lot of cat meowing, but
basically the teacher says, okay, the person who solved the puzzle fastest gets to choose the first partner for this next team assignment that you have to do. And then it's like second fastest gets to choose second, and so on and so forth. Toshusai won, and she chooses Iroha. And he's, of course, very surprised because Toshusai is not teaming up with one of her normal cohorts. She explains it as, oh, yeah, well, I thought that, she says, like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm just looking for someone that I can control, essentially. But she says, like, because Iroha, it says, like, you didn't even know who I was the other day. And Toshusai says, oh, I apologize for that. And I'm the type of person who learns from my mistakes, basically. And then Iroha brings up, like, that technically she's still supposed to be his slave. And she's like, yeah,
she's like, why did I make that deal? And then someone in the corner's like, you didn't really, but, you know, whatever.
Really. This, however, leaves one person unpicked because there's an odd number of people in the class. Ensa Kasuri, who didn't even try to solve the puzzle for some reason. But Iroha says, like, hey, so if it's my turn, then I want to have Kasuri-san on our team. Because, you know, like, in this kind of situations, when the class gets divided up into this type of teams of two in an odd-numbered class, then there's going to be a trio. So I just want to do that. And the teacher's like, yeah, okay. Oboro is teamed up with the Gyaru girl, and she looks on this act with resentment and says, you need to nip eyes like that right away. Let's kill them with codes right now.
They're like, I'm going to shoot a bullet at you. Engraved in the side is a half-finished Sudoku puzzle. If you finish it before it ends, the bullet won't hurt you. Difficulty rating 3, because you could solve it. It just happens to be on a bullet.
So solve it really fast, basically. The theme of the class-leading private selection process is called the Cassette Quartet, which is very fancy sounding. Cassette means, like, brain teaser, essentially.
Oh, look at that.
Presumably there's four parts to it.
Look at that.
This chapter was fun and stupid.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Excellent. More. All right, let's talk about. Oh, right.
Fabricant 100. Hey, look, people that aren't Fabricants, more characters? Question mark. Chapter 3, those with a shared goal. Fabricant 100 kills another Fabricant after main character decides to act as bait. Then his hand is bandaged up because wackiness. So then she goes off in order to throw out his ruined shirt. And while he's just chilling on a bench, he suddenly just blinks and he's been kidnapped. Gasp! He's being held in a car driving down the road. So he thinks, I know, number 100 will just smell my blood and come after me. Slice! And the guy driving the car is like, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to have the Fabricant track you down. Vroom! Speeds really fast. And, oh no, are we going to crash into that car? Blink. Oh, we're just in a completely different part of the city. What happened? Oh, it turns out he's just driving really fast and turning really fast. That's it. So it seems like time moves for him.
Yes.
Okay.
He does weird things.
Oh, now the blood spread all over town, so number 100 can't find us. Whoop-a-doop-a-doo. Oh, wait a minute. This guy is human. He's not a Fabricant. Hey, that's right. I'm not a Fabricant. Then why'd you kidnap me? Oh, because, you know, we don't want a kid like you to waste your life trying to go after revenge and putting yourself in danger. I'm Luca, and I'm an adult. Yep. So he makes the very devious decision to say, Ashibi, you're a kid, and you're putting yourself in danger. There is no reason for you to try and do this. You should just try and live a happy life to the best of your abilities after this. Forget about having revenge for your family. And I came to your rescue to help you do that. And Ashibi says, no! I need to defeat the Fabricants with number 100. I need to slice my wrist more. Well, he bites his forearm. More blood! This will solve the problem. Because I guess there's more intense blood here. And that way, number 100 can find them. And sure enough, she does. And she looks down on them in a way that I'm sure did nothing titillating for anybody and says, did you enjoy your drive? And that's the end of the chapter.
Mommy asked you a question, Nick.
Okay, so...
It's time to ask ourselves, do we want to keep reading Fabricant 100? And I mean, look at the end of this chapter. Is this not a good reason to keep reading it?
You stop this.
Two gigantic reasons. No, I don't particularly. Look, I'll say this. This was like a better chapter than the rest because it like adds this like twisted element where like we are supposed to see this character as both like an ally and also the enemy of the series. Like she is supposed to be like an antagonist because she does want to eventually take our main character, rip him apart, and use his Professor Peanuts and use his body parts to sustain herself. So it's just an interesting dichotomy. You're fine. It's an interesting dichotomy. He's such a baby. So I appreciate that we got that. I just still don't like it though. Like I don't know. Maybe it's like the art in this series doesn't like. This is actually like a cool scene at the end. Giant knockers withstanding. Like it is like a more interesting like tone that's been set in this series through the art. But like I don't know. Like the characters, like these new characters showed up. I was like, all these characters feel exactly the same to me. Like I just like they all have the exact same kind of aesthetic energy.
There's something missing from this manga, and I cannot tell you what it is, but it lacks the je ne sais quoi. I feel like if we had started off more on the note of, or even introduced this dynamic in a way that is just more engrossing, really. Like, because what really happens here is Luca shows up and just kind of acts as the voice of reality to the situation. And that's just kind of it. There's not really a feeling that Ashibi is like... You don't really sense the problem that Ashibi has with this. Like, we know, of course, like, oh, he's bent on revenge and everything like that. But I don't see that, and I don't hear that when he is objecting to the proposal that is being made to him.
Yes.
There needs to be some more visceral anger, more of a reaction towards this than just like, well, I'll bite my arm now, blah, and that's it. That's just what happens.
Yes.
So there is something missing. I don't really want to read it anymore. That's it.
All right, Nick. Let's talk about that Gink and that loon.
Ginka Glüna, Chapter 15, Scheherazade and Anemone. The confrontation with Scheherazade continues after Luna managed to successfully swipe the book away from her. And she's thinking to herself, while Scheherazade is still confronting her, like, okay, I need to get this book out of here because it could potentially restore Ginka's body. But suddenly she buckles and drops the book, and she realizes, oh my god, the book's draining my magical energy. And before she can really do anything about that, Scheherazade uses her wand to cast these super sharp threads towards Luna and chops her body apart, similarly to the way that she chopped up her arm before. And then she kind of just ties all of her body parts into a just vague ball shape and says, yeah, gonna take you home and dissect you. Luna somehow manages to resist this despite not having any conceivable way to gain leverage out of this situation, but she manages to still try and tear herself away, but she is in a ball and she can't really do anything about this. So Scheherazade says, all right, look, I want to dissect your body. That means I've got no need of your actual mind, though, and starts to do something to her head. But then Anemone, who had been watching things from around the corner, appears, and though terrified, she makes herself a human shield and says, stop this. And we get a flashback to Anemone's past with Scheherazade, to where she and one of her friends were fucking human experiments for this mad scientist type lady. They were deceived, taken in as foster kids, and were just used as magical experiments. And Anemone had this friend who stood up to Scheherazade and was turned into mushrooms. Yay! And apparently, like, their dreams were exploited because they were told that they could become master magicians, they could make a better life for themselves. This girl was the one who first braided Anemone's hair. And now she's fucking dead. And that's it. Yay!
And that's not a good thing.
Yay! So Anemone refuses to let Luna be hurt, and she says, I'm not going to abandon her just to save myself. I'm not going to budge. So fucking Scheherazade gouges her eyes out with her fingers. Just no hesitation, does it, and says, oh, yeah, look, remember what I told you? Naughty girls who don't listen get punished. What do you say when you've done something wrong? You say, I'm sorry, right? Tell me you're sorry. And Anemone still refuses to back down, even though she's got, blood coming from her gouged eyes.
It's a very quick, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, that'll be the craziest thing that happens to her eyes, certainly, in this chapter.
And she says, you're the one who should be sorry. You deceive people, you toy with them until you murder them. So you say you're sorry, and you tell it to this totem. Which, I don't think we get a great look at it, but it belonged to the girl that she befriended, I think. I think we see that in one of the panels, but yeah, she gives it to her when she's dying.
Uh-huh.
So Scheherazade is going to kill Anemone by putting fuses in her eye sockets until they burn down and explode her body. Yeah!
It's such a wild moment as she's like, oh god, my eyes are bombs, and fucking Luna is just like tied up with her body, and you're just like, yo, what the fuck is happening?
What happened? So Luna's disgusted with Scheherazade and says, so if you don't like something, you just twist it or destroy it. And Scheherazade says, yeah, that's how magic works. And Luna thinks for a moment and she says, I grew up on a snowy mountain, but I never used my magic to melt the snow. I chose to make myself stronger against the cold. And then when I did, I realized how good cold snow feels and how beautiful it is. Very beautiful little sentiment in just like a couple of sentences there.
Yeah.
And so Shirazade's like, whatever, gonna kill you now. Points her wand. But Luna says, no, you don't understand. You just can't see it. And Ginka has reared up behind Scheherazade with a freaking thunder fist ready to go and says, what the hell are you doing, before punching her through the wall. Yeah. And he diffuses and yanks out the fuses on Anemone's eyes. Beretta fortunately thought to run off and get Ginka for help, and she comforts Anemone now while Ginka turns to confront Scheherazade as he says, you listening? I'm the magician who's better than you, and I will make you bow down before me. This chapter fucking rules.
It's wild. It's a wild chapter.
What a roller coaster. I loved it.
All right, Nick.
It's time. I have a puzzle for you, Quinn.
For me? Okay.
I have a puzzle for you. Passably perseverant competitor pitches plotline with portly paramour.
Oh, is this Mandy Rose?
It is. Got it in one.
Yeah, okay.
There's no reason I brought up Mandy Rose in particular. None.
She's doing very well from what I understand.
Apparently.
I don't know all the details of that story. I just know they were like, she's making a lot of money now. And I'm like, good for her.
Yep, she's making a lot of money, doing sexy things that we're not making money off of, and we can't let that happen.
Speak for yourself, Nick. You just search the right keywords, you'll find it.
No. I mean, like, that's why she got fired.
Oh.
Is that they weren't making money off of it specifically. So.
Oh, there you go. All right, Nick. I've got a minute on the clock. I have a wrestler. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Go.
Are they an active wrestler?
Not really.
Okay. Are they a Hall of Famer?
No.
Okay. So is it Goldberg?
No.
All right. Have they wrestled for WWE in the past 3 years, give or take?
Yes.
Okay. Are they over the age of 50?
No, I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Are they under the age of if you're not sure, never mind. Are they
I know what they are.
Known as a celebrity?
No, they're not a celebrity. They're a wrestler.
All right. Not really active though. Okay, so are they out of not signed to anyone right now?
Yes.
Have they wrestled for WWE in the past calendar year?
No.
No. Okay. Oh. I'm going to have to just think about that for a second. I don't have any questions to narrow that down. That sucks.
All right.
Okay,
that's the time.
All right. So they have not wrestled in the past calendar year. They're just not currently signed to anyone. And they're not over 50.
Not anyone that I could find.
We mean not that you could find on which?
I've not been able to find if they are wrestling for any company. If they are, it is very minor.
Okay. So I'm almost tempted to say Ryback, but I think he actually retired. So
you never know.
Okay. Not in the past year. So probably it really upsets me that they're in a not really active capacity. Is it? You know what? I literally can't think of anyone better for this than Ryback, so I'm just going to go with that. I don't think that's right, though.
It is not Ryback, unfortunately, Nick.
Who was it?
This was Levi Cooper, a.k.a. Tucker, from WWE's Heavy Machinery.
Oh, my God! I would have...
I thought
never in a million years.
For the drama, I was like, I have to have Nick lose. So who's the most fucking obscure wrestler I could think of? I was like, the man never held a mainline title except the 24/7 title. I was like, I would never have guessed this person.
So, funnily enough, if there were a time to do it, it would have been after I referenced.
I know. I got so nervous when you did that. I was like, no. I worked so hard. I was like, I really scoured. I was like, who the fuck is like the hardest person I could think to guess? The reason I wasn't sure is...
Honestly, I had been planning since like last week that Mandy Rose and that storyline was going to be my clue to you. The entire time I was thinking over like, what are P words I can put in this puzzle? Not once did I think of Tucker the entire
time. The only reason I wasn't 100% certain is because he said his plan was to eventually get back into wrestling in 2022, and I was like, I don't find any record of him being in any company, but I don't know, he might be doing like small house shows maybe or something like that. I couldn't find anything that said he was back, but I did find something that said he planned to be back.
The only other thing that I might have guessed was I would have probably guessed Mojo Rawley before him. Because same kind of situation.
But this brings drama, Nick. Next week,
got me with a stump.
All the marbles. You either get a pizza or the audience picks a recommendation.
Such weird stakes. Oh, yeah, by the way, I guess that technically I can't choose what series we're going to cover next because I don't know if I'll have the right to do so.
I mean, you choose whatever we recap, you pick for a recommendation now, but then after that, we'll figure it out.
I haven't gotten one picked out anyway yet, so.
Oh no.
PPPPPP, Chapter 62, Beginning to Think by Stopping Thinking. What a mind bender. Sadame, we're in the aftermath of the competition and the death of Lucky and the septuplets' mother, and just kind of like catching up with certain people. Sadame has found a church where he heard piano music playing, and when he goes inside, there's Gakwa no Odogami, just there. And now he's not. He walks out straight past Sadame, and there is barely any recognition of the fact that he was there when this scene began. Because what happens is Sadame has a conversation with the person who had been playing the piano, which was Sorachika. And Sorachika doesn't even remember who Sadame was, doesn't even remember his name. It's like, hey, why are you here? And Sadame was like, well, I'm here. So you were playing Tempest. And Sorachika says, yeah, there was no fantasy when I was playing, right? I'm practicing specifically to not do that. And Sadame asks, why? Sorachika lies down on one of the pews and takes a nap because he has no interest in talking to this guy, I guess. So Sadame asks, like, hey, why'd you disappear after the event? Were you just bored? Hello? Talk to me? And Sorachika says, well, no, the world is interesting for the most part. You know, no matter how much you think you know, there's always going to be something you don't know. It's impossible to know everything about yourself, right? Like, which cells are where in your body? How many cells do you have? All right, calm down. You need to stop. You need to, Sorachika, stop right now. I don't need to. But Sorachika says, in particular, the brain is a mystery to people because it can make us feel, put us in certain moods, break us down with mental illnesses. It has so many powers. We need to understand everything about the brain, or we'll never understand psychology or the occult. All right. Having studied psychology, you're wrong about that first point. You can understand psychology without understanding the brain. It just depends on your approach to psychology. If you have a biological approach to psychology, then yes, you will never understand psychology without understanding the brain. But if you have a behavioral approach or a cognitive approach or anything like that, then you can in fact do so. But anyway, the occult? Excuse me? What's going on? So Sorachika says, at the event, I didn't speak to him through my piano, but he had a conversation with my feelings. Sorochika seems to be speaking of the other Lucky in this case. And so Sorochika says, I wanted to think about why that was. So I wandered around. But since I'm not a genius, I couldn't figure it out. And Sadame is like, what do you mean you're not a genius? You're a genius with the piano. Sorochika literally says yawn. And then Sadame recalls being told by the headmaster of the school that he's a genius at studying. And Sadame says, well, so I'm a genius at studying. Do you think it suits me to keep studying the piano playing of a genius pianist? So I wanted to kind of decide this on my own, but I was thinking about it, and it kind of would scare me to hurt someone who's more fragile than Fanta by copying their style just for fun. I don't want to study them to death. I just like to study geniuses who bring me joy. And Sorochika says, when you evoked Fanta's theme park, I thought it was a genius of replication, but your reproduction is like feeling with logical output. So if he comes out, you should study him. And if he hates it, he'll retaliate without holding back, so you won't need to worry about it. If you succeed, you'll get a Nobel Prize, and your photo will be in all the textbooks.
Oh, that's nice.
All right. So Sadame is like, what are you talking about? Who is he? So Sadame, as Sorochika leaves, thinks to himself, I have no idea what he's talking about. Awesome. I'm glad he's happy.
Yes.
He puts Sorochika in his sights, and he thinks, there is no way I'm not going to study him. And in his sights, Sorochika is surrounded by all these question marks because he's such a weird enigma of a person.
Yes. I like how weird he is. All of these people, honestly, in this moment, very strange.
And I guess we'll just skip on by without mentioning then the last chapter. Turns out Mimin and Mimosa were making very big plans to make Maloli, rather, not Mimosa. Mimin and Maloli were making big plans to go and meet each other. Isn't that nice?
Aww.
Yep. So
they're girlfriends.
Yeah.
You want to talk about?
I've already got one pizza. I've already got pizza on the line, so I'm not going to make another bet based on a disagreement over that. So.
Nick's like, I'm about to get pizza, and I cannot wait. Let's talk about Mashle, Magic, and Muscles, Nick. This is chapter 137, though I'll briefly refer back to 136, where Mash shows up, whoops Doom's ass, and then keeps doing like the get up motion so he can whoop his ass again because he was mean to his friends. It was fucking awesome.
It's pretty cool.
He's basically continuing the same thing here. He's like, get up, I want to whip your ass again. But Doom goes 90%, and he's just starts crushing Mash. He like grabs his face and slams him into the wall, and he's just doing it over and over again. It's like, oh no, is even Mash doomed for this? And the dust clears, and Mash is fine. And they're like, how? And he's like, I basically like broke my fall every time before it happened by just like touching the floor and smashing it, and thus I'm fine. Everyone's like, how the fuck is this possible? So Mash,
because he's Mash.
Yeah. So Mash starts getting ready, and we cut to Melia Duel, or Melia Ghoul? I don't know. Melia, and she's like, Mash had two weaknesses before. The first was that he always held himself back for the sake of the person, like out of concern for his target, and the second was that he would train randomly without a solid understanding of how the body works. Like, he knew the muscles, but he didn't necessarily know the motions. So we have taught him all of this, and we see Mash going through the whole thing, like a left shoulder extension, a left elbow bent, forearm twist, and Doom's just like, you're open, slash Mash doesn't even care. And Melia Duels is like, knowing the body allows one to maximize its capabilities to an incredible degree, and Mash uses his biomechanics cannon, which is the very fancy way to say he knows how to punch really good now.
He punches really, really, really hard.
Yeah, and punches Doom straight through the wall, like straight through multiple walls. Like he goes through and you see like the 7 walls shattered and everything like that, and they're like, holy shit, that's crazy if Doom gets up from that. But Nick, come on, Nick. We haven't seen 100% yet.
We haven't seen Toguro use 105% yet.
Yeah, so Doom gets up and starts walking, and he's just like, you know what? I'm at 90%. This is the best you could do? I expected better. I'm disappointed in you. I thought you'd be a match for me, but this ends here. And it matches, no one asked you to force your expectations on me. Save your disappointment for your lover, not me. You're making this weird. And that is so stone cold savage of a line. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, the first part of it is very typical MASH, and just in terms of like pointing out how rude it is to do certain shonen trash talk. Is like, no one asked you to set your expectations against me. That's just like really presumptive. But then he talks about like, I'm not doing this for you. You're making this weird. You're creepy.
It's the save your disappointment for your lover, not me. And you're like, did he imply Doom is an unsatisfying lover? Like, holy shit, man. I know you guys don't get along, but that's still family. You can't do him like that.
All he knows how to do is get really big. Yeah, so.
Oh, holy shit. Really fucking great. Really fucking great. The chapter just ends with Doom not saying anything and Finn being like, "Oh, now you've done it."
Yeah. Doom makes one of those like faces.
Yeah. Oh, how fucking great would it be if he just started crying? He's just like, "No, I'm a good lover."
Elusive Samurai. Last chapter ended with the gang bringing down Imagawa. Fubuki managed to do this crazy cross sword technique to kill the hell out of him, basically. And we get an explanation of like the sword technique that Fubuki does as there's kind of like a break in the action, and he's just explaining how he did it to Kojiro and Akiko. And he says, like, yeah, it's quite flashy and requires skill, so you don't have a lot of chances to actually do it. And the two of them are like, how is it actually even physically possible that he did that at all?
No.
Tokiyuki is very proud. Genba, however, just kind of thinks about how, like, oh man, even a guy like this can't get ahead without good lineage, not even if he served the Ashikaga. Yorishige pops up and pulls Genba aside. To where they have the Tengu tied up, and they're like, look, we've been starving him so he would divulge information, but it's been 6 days. He's like completely unresponsive, although he is alive, but we can't untie him. So Genba is like, I'll use my amazing interrogation technique of farting in his face.
Yes.
And because this, yep.
It's weird. I feel like I should be laughing hysterically at this, but maybe there's a small part of me that's like, no, you're too old to talk about this. Please hold it together.
So after farting in the Tengu's face, Genba leans over him and says, "You failed to spot our preparations, so you've lost face with your group. So." And you must be pretty low status to begin with to have to be assigned to this kind of work. You're going to get killed by the Ashikaga, so you should serve our commander. And Yorishige objects as Genba starts to cut him free. And Genba's like, he doesn't need these. Look, our lord doesn't care about lineage. He just likes retainers with skills. If you serve him, it'll be much more dignified than suffering under Ashikaga cruelty. And then something bursts out of the Tengu's body, flies up into the air, and everyone's like, what the hell? He got away. And Genba says, this is a dummy made of animal sinew. And that explains how he was able to move in such weird ways before. This is actually some sort of strange suit that he controls with sinews, and he actually survived by eating the sinews within the false body for the past 6 days. We get a brief shot of the actual form of the ninja, who is much smaller, and has much more effeminate-looking features. And they're really, really pissed off about Gemba farting in their face. Understandable.
Yeah, normally you had to pay for fetish content like that, but this person had foisted upon them. Not a fan of it.
By the way, this is actually not Yorishige. I mistook them because everyone wears the same fucking hats in this goddamn series and I can't tell them apart. Yorishige is with Tokiyuki.
No, see, his hat's even fancier. It's bigger, see.
It is. And he just, indicates like, yeah, the battle is going well, but our soldiers are exhausted, although our morale remains high thanks to you. If we didn't have to fight, we would reach Kamakura in a single day. And Toki starts to get excited over the prospect of returning to Kamakura, which he's been longing for the past 2 years. And Yorishige says, we will not arrive until we have defeated Tadayoshi Ashikaga. So Uesugi and God, I keep on forgetting his name. The young Magojiro is their name. They report back to Tadayoshi about how the battle went, how they lost Imagawa, and Tadayoshi says, "I'll take the field as a general. You two are dismissed." As he leaves, Magojiro goes to chase after him, and it's like, "Look, we've lost these great generals who fell in service to the Ashikaga, but you haven't shed a single tear. How are you not sad?" And Tadayoshi says, "I am not sad, Magojiro, because you will grow to take their place. Your lineage is impeccable. You surpass me in talent. But if you continue as you are now, you will only grow up to be an average general. You manipulate other commanders. You pulled frivolous stunts. You fell apart over casualties. These are all childish behaviors. And with Shibukawa's death, you have tasted cruel defeat. Shibukawa excelled with the pen and sword. He was perfect to raise the next generation of Ashikaga, and now you must learn to compensate for his loss." And Magojiro asks him, like, "Wait, so you sent me with them in case Shibukawa died?" And Tadayoshi says, "Youth no longer rules Kamakura. You must mature. You and your peers raised funds for Kamakura. You seized the attentions of the daughters of rich men, and I have used them to secure ties with Kanto's elite." And apparently, all this was within his machinations. And he says that Kamakura requires stricter methods, and you have the potential to govern, but you must develop your talents. And just, walks away from this conversation with a child and says, like, yeah, be better at war, kid. So that's good.
Stop sucking.
Magojiro is in awe over Tadayoshi, just looking and predicting all this stuff and how far his insight reaches, basically. And he also realizes that this man would not mourn my death, but he takes my future more seriously than I do, so I must swear allegiance to him. And we get one of the, modern day comparisons that have come up in Elusive Samurai frequently of like, oh, this is kind of like what he would be like in today's setting. Tadayoshi would be a masterful politician. He's great at manipulating people, seeing the big picture and using everything to assure his side's strengths and everything. And now he steps forward onto the stage as a general in front of all these troops, and everyone knows what's going to happen now. Like, all right, the Tokiyuki's forces are on the way. We're going to hunker down in Kamakura. We're going to prepare for a siege. We've got mountains on 3 sides. And so when we attacked the Hojo here, we had to really pay dearly for it. But now we're the ones defending, and we can hold out for reinforcements. So we're ready. Just give us the orders so that we can defend this place. And Tadayoshi says to everyone, we're going to ride out and meet them outside of Kamakura. And everyone's shocked by this. And you're kind of waiting for the reveal of like, oh, was Tadayoshi planning? And then the narrative says, Tadayoshi was a shit warrior. So he didn't understand warfare. That's why. So, big twist. Oh, look at all the great and smart things that Tadayoshi's doing. Also, he is dumb. So,
yes.
There we go.
There we go. Indeed. This is a fine chapter. Got some good stuff in it. I dig it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good moments and some farts. So
yeah, and the farts are classic. Really, the true treasure we found was the farts along the way. That's what I appreciate. Nick, we have to talk about our favorites from the week, and I know it's
We
tough.
do
I know
have
it's
to
tough
talk
to
about
pick.
them.
So, I'm going to give you a moment, let you figure out your thoughts, really workshop them.
Okay, is this really
Just
like,
imagine,
serious?
just imagine saying Cipher Academy over and over and over. Just mouth it. Cipher, and then character of the week, of course, Morgs. Didn't even know they didn't appear in this chapter.
Didn't even get mentioned. The person obsessed with them was barely in the chapter. My favorite chapter this week was Ginka and Luna. I thought it was really cool. Very, very, very honorable mention to Blue Box, which was insanely good this week. But I just liked how insane Ginka and Luna got. I guess I'm going to give my character of the week to... this is kind of hard, actually. Because there's a few different characters that I kind of want to give it to based on the quality of the chapter and their role in it. But then I could give it to...
Morgs. You could give it to Morgs.
Yeah, I could. I'm gonna give it to Chinatsu.
Okay.
It's a very weird chapter to do that for because she doesn't do anything big, but there's a lot of really cool little things she does.
I totally see that. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna give my character of the week to Mash, kind of as he was really cool this week with a great line, and also as a follow up to last week, he was phenomenal. So it's a little bit of a combination of both of those. But my chapter week, I'm going to give to Blue Box. I really enjoyed that chapter. It's very, very sweet.
It was really good.
So
there was quite a few good stuff.
The audience agreed with Mash for character of the week and then picked Akane-banashi as their chapter of the week.
Yeah, there was a pretty high mark overall, I would say, for a lot of the manga this week.
Not a lot of Cipher Academy votes. Oh, there is one. I do see one Cipher Academy vote. No Morg votes, though, which is curious. But all right.
Look, guys, you got to get the votes in for Cipher Academy early because they're only going to go up in value and they're going to be more difficult to acquire. Yeah. So
you want to be on the ground floor of Morgs, you know?
Absolutely.
Because they're just
going to... we can say
they're just going up.
Your Cipher Academy vote will be your own personal brands. I can't. All right. Guys, thank you for joining us for Weekly Manga Recap. We record the show Wednesday evenings, usually around 7:30 Eastern Time. We record the show here on twitch.tv/RoloT. And you can also check out the recording on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, as well as a lot of different podcasting platforms. Spotify, iTunes have the episodes as well. Video versions are on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap, where you can also see the title cards made for us by Steve Man, whose artwork you can find wherever boobs are allowed to be drawn on the internet. Look for accounts named Steve Man Art. And also, if you watch the recorded video version, you can see the great opening sequence made for us by Wensleydale Cheddar and Milo Jack Stillitz. Thanks, guys, for doing that. Be sure to follow us on social media for updates on when the show goes live via WMR Podcast, or join the Discord server, where you can just get live updates on how things are going with that, have conversations with people about the recommendation that we've taken, the series that we're working on covering, and the series as the new chapters are released. You can also use that to find the Google Doc maintainment in JX3i that keeps track of all the recommendations that people want us to cover, and add your vote to one of them, or make your own suggestion to add to it. And also, we're coming up on the end of the year, so if you want to take part in some of those community-voted year-end awards, now's the time to do so.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. It's going to be a fun time. You'll enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll cover those kind of things in the annual recap episode that we'll do soon.
Ninja put together, Ninja is astonishing, does, elaborate polls to, narrow down choices. And one was what was the best Spookmaster General poll? And I went into it, and I was because I forget everything I say, but I went through it, and I was Shigaraki was a really good one.
You forget everything that the Spookmaster General says, I should say.
Sure, yeah, and that too.
They leave your body, and
yeah, they transcend out. Not, I was about to be through the face, but no, I shit them out into the toilet. I expel them like a waste from my body, a toxin, and then I am then free.
They spend the entire rest of the year crawling out of the sewer system to try and find you.
Just trying to come up with shitty puns. Dum-dum.
Hey,
we got there.
Better than most of the puns.
Anyway, I saw Shivaraki on there. I was very impressed with myself all over again. I was like, look at you, Quinn. You came up with one good one. And then the rest of it's like, one's just like Tokibuki. And they're like, I assume they mean Tokubuki, but they said it's the wrong character's name. And I was like, whatever, fuck you.
Look, it's occasionally you just find the diamond in the rough, and that's what makes all the rest of them worth doing.
Exactly.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again soon with more manga.
Or we won't. Might never see us again.
Well, one would hope. You know, I want to get that pizza bet / community voted recommendation stuff done. Like,
I had to really think.
Can you imagine if we just never got past the cliffhanger, just ended right there? Ooh,
I really have to think who it's going to be. Like, it's going to be a challenge now. I got to put a lot of thought into it and not just pick Goldberg.
Just first question. Can Bret Hart resist talking shit about them for 5 minutes?
No. It would have been quicker if you just asked, is it Goldberg? But you didn't narrow it down very well.
It's just as effective at a question.
Yes. All right, goodbye, everybody.